continues in a moment. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Good morning, this is Force 13 Live. The current time is 1:01 PM UTC. My name's Nathan Foy. Hello, nice to see you again as always. But of course, we're still tracking what is the unstoppable Hurricane Irma as it continues on its endeavors towards Florida. Already in the Caribbean, of course, and affecting all of those islands. A little bit weaker than we left it last night. We were sort of anticipating to a degree a little bit of weakening. Maybe not that it would lose Category 5 status, but, well, thankfully that has happened. Though there's still a long way to go, and still a lot of strength within that storm. It's still very dangerous indeed. Just as dangerous as it was, you could say. Here's the latest infrared imagery. That's the water vapor imagery that you're looking at there. I can't get the traditional IR up at the moment, but that's the latest in the water vapor imagery. If we add the labels to it, you can see all of the islands in association with the storm there. Very close to, I think it's Crooks Island right now. And just 60 miles south of the southern tip of Long Island, which is depicted just further north of there as well. Well, we're joined by Craig and Isaac at this time. How are you guys doing?
Good. Not looking good for Florida, though.
No. and you can see the hurricane probabilities on the left-hand side of the screen whizzing by. Over 50% for some of those areas in the southeastern part of Florida, including I think 60% in Homestead, something like that, or 65% or something.
Yeah,
And then you've got for Jose and Barbuda with a 22% chance of hurricane conditions yet again, and that's just an abomination right there.
Yeah, and Irma, believe I think it's finished its eyewall replacement cycle already, if I'm not mistaken, because I think it was going to do an eyewall replacement cycle earlier in the day. And when it does complete it, it's going to need to be watched again because it could try to intensify back up to like maybe a high-end Cat 4. If it does that, maybe even a Cat 5 if it's in the right conditions, which it pretty much kind of is, but I'm not going to say it will hit Cat 5. It's just, I guess it has kind of a possibility.
It is a possibility, and the models are still very much hinting at that loudly right now. Particularly the H1 model, which is crazy anyway, predicting still in the 880s millibars, adjusted for the error that it makes, something like 903 when it passes over or next to Florida.
Yeah, so a Category 5 certainly is possible, but it's not, certain that it will become it, but it's possible. And like I said yesterday, if you're new to the stream, today is the last day you could evacuate. If you don't evacuate today, you're pretty much on your own. I mean, like I said, I'm going to just keep saying it for the new people who join because I'm going to get new people constantly, but once those winds reach 40, 50 miles per hour, you're going to start closing bridges and roadways because they're going to think it's too dangerous to be on the roads, and you're going to have to be on your own from there on. So, again, today is the last day you can evacuate if you're wanting to evacuate.
Well, those hurricane warnings already in effect for large parts of southern Florida, as you can see on the National Hurricane Center graphic there in front of you, and including Lake Okeechobee right now, so anywhere up to Lake Okeechobee in vulnerable places need to evacuate. If you evacuated during Matthew, you should definitely evacuate during Irma.
Because pretty much every if you're in an area that's under a hurricane warning, you need to evacuate like today. I mean, if you don't do it, it's too late. Today, if you don't do it too late today, it's pretty much too late too. And then even in the hurricane watch, I think they have like voluntary evacuations for there. And I mean, if they're asking you to evacuate but not forcing it, I would recommend you do it. But it's, I mean, up to you. And I mean, this is a Category 4, maybe reaching Category 5 soon. So I don't know if I want to take a chance with that, going more to the west or going more to the east.
Force 13 setups has been on the case as well. The latest it said was 149, so still very close to Category 5 intensity, and 150 mile an hour winds. It's just still crazy, and pointing towards potential again for. We're in the same place we were 2 days ago now, where we're sort of looking back at the Keys again for a landfall and the Everglades. Craig, any thoughts?
Oh, just to reiterate, either way, it doesn't matter if this hurricane does intensify or not. You've got to listen, because this thing is a major hurricane. Florida hasn't been hit by a major hurricane since 2005. And as Isaac said, if you're going to leave now. Especially if you're under a hurricane warning, because this is stronger than what Matthew was.
Yeah, I believe Matthews for Florida gave Category 3 gusts, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is pretty much near enough a high-end Category 4 here. We're talking, not a Category 4 weakening 2 or 3. This is a completely different story from Matthew in terms of intensity. So you just got to take that into account.
And plus, Matthew was doing an eyewall replacement at that stage, coming close to Florida, whereas Irma's literally just finished it.
Well, yeah, but you know Irma's form. Irma is a walking eyewall replacement cycle. Always undergoing them, yet still managing to keep all this intensity. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And strengthening through one of them.
Right.
but
At the bottom of the screen you can see the expected surges for various locations. I'm also going to read out the expected rainfall totals. For the northern Dominican Republic and northern Haiti, they're expecting an additional 2 to 4 inches. The southern Dominican Republic and southern Haiti, an additional 1 to 2 inches. The Turks and Caicos, an additional 3 to 6 inches. The southern Bahamas and northern Cuba, 10 to 15 inches, isolated 20. Southern Cuba, 4 to 8 inches, isolated 12. The upper Florida Keys into southeast Florida, 10 to 15 inches, isolated 20. Eastern Florida northward into coastal Georgia, 8 to 12 inches, isolated 16. The lower Florida Keys, 3 to 5 inches. The western Florida Peninsula into much of Georgia and South Carolina and western North Carolina, 3 to 6 inches expected.
And I'm going to go in about a minute. So just to reiterate again for the people who have just joined, again, today's the last day to evacuate. Please do it now, especially if you're in a hurricane warning. Heed what the officials are saying. They're trying to save your lives here, and if you don't take that option from them, well, I'm sorry, it's your mistake for not leaving, and you're gonna have to deal with Category 4 on your hands. So I wouldn't want to take any chances with this because models have been shifting back and forth between going more west and going more east. So I wouldn't want to take any chances from this, and especially, like I said, in a hurricane warning, please evacuate.
The uncertainty is huge, and has always been huge, remains huge, will probably be huge until the storm makes a landfall, if it does indeed. And we're still talking about ifs. It still might not make landfall, but it's over a half chance that it will in Florida.
But still, nonetheless, Florida will get hurricane force winds, and like I said, if you're in a hurricane warning, just get out while you still can, because tomorrow is pretty much tomorrow into late night. Tonight, I believe, is going to get gradually and decreasing conditions from this day as it moves on. And once those winds hit 40, 50 miles an hour, they're going to start closing bridges, waterways, and roads because they're going to think it's too dangerous to drive on. So just do it while you can.
Particularly applies to the Florida Keys, doesn't it? But there's quite a few bridges along, the coast of Florida as well. They'll close off Miami Beach, won't they?
And that's really all I wanted to say. I'm going to have to go now because I have to go places. But please stay safe and heed what your officials say really carefully.
Sure. We'll see you later, Isaac. We're looking at the latest imagery of what the Visible shows this morning. And Craig, you've probably seen this already, and showing that the eye, if you have been watching in previous days, nowhere near as well defined as it has been previously.
No, it doesn't really help when it's doing an eye wall replacement and literally just coming out of it. Recent microwave imagery does show that a brand new eye wall has basically now engulfed the old eye and has invaded it and just taken over. It's now, in terms of we've got the new image now. It is complete. The eye wall is now complete. It's just now in that terms of recovery and so to speak. But the eye wall is strengthening on microwave imagery. So Irma, regardless of strength, this is by far worse than Matthew. This is proving a greater threat. It's got a higher. It's a much bigger storm than what Matthew was. Let's get that straight first as well.
It's probably got a bigger hurricane wind field.
Yes, and it's proving, and it's going to be a bigger threat, and it's going to be, it's one of them ones that are really hard words to, and in terms of impact. But to reiterate what Isaac was saying, if you are leaving, leave now, because this is pretty much deadline.
Later on we'll maybe get some webcams from Florida and such, but just to reiterate what the storms are looking like right now: Irma, a Category 4, 150 miles an hour officially. Our SATOP said 149, our measurement of satellite intensity. For Jose, it's now 125 miles an hour, which is high-end Category 3, and still could strike Barbuda again at that intensity, or near that intensity. And you've got Hurricane Katia, which is a high-end Category 1 with 90-mile-an-hour winds, and Recon, I believe, are investigating that storm, Craig. I don't know if you've got any information for us.
There's literally been no update. I don't know what's wrong with the site. I know there was 2 recons inside of Irma, but I don't know what's going on. I've tried updating Tropical Tidbits, and there's been no updates. So I don't know what's going on. I know there's recons inside of Jose. There's one inside Katia right now. Jose's drops on got 944 millibars. Katia, there's been no drops on yet, but there's been nothing coming out of Irma. It's all gone very quiet, and I don't really like the sound of that when it goes extremely quiet.
Right, we'll pop up some more images of Jose and Katia in a moment as well, just so people can see every storm. And just looking at Jose this morning, Craig, and it could be Category 4 soon.
He's certainly looking the part, isn't he? Recon did find close to Category 4 hurricane force winds in the southwestern eye wall of Jose, but that's just one pass. You would need many other passes to confirm that. But there is definitely high-end Category 3, possibly low-end Category 4 hurricane force winds in the southwestern eye wall. He's certainly looking a lot better than he was earlier. I definitely do say that he is certainly a major hurricane, because obviously Recon found the winds in him. He's not as impressive as he was last night, but obviously he's still in the process.
For a brief period, wasn't it, that it looked particularly impressive?
Yeah, short and sweet, and as some folks say.
There's a current look at Jose right now on the visible imagery, and you can see it's looking pretty good, and another one drawing close to those islands. And I gotta say now, it looks like it's moving almost due west, and it's just curved a little bit to the west-northwest in those latest frames. Not looking good for those peripheral islands. And you just about see the edge of Irma still over those islands too. It's remarkable.
And also looking at Katia, she's also tried to start developing her eye as well. I know she's expected to peak as a high-end Category 2 landfall in Mexico. So it's a great big mess out in the Atlantic right now. But obviously, if you are on the coast of Mexico, please monitor Katia very, very closely. I know Recon's in her right now, but I haven't seen much come out of Recon. I know they're finding high in Category 1 hurricane force winds, maybe Category 2 hurricane force winds. So, but that's only from the one complete pass. They're just doing another right now, but no drops on yet.
So we'll wait for updates on those. The next scheduled updates from the National Hurricane Center are at 4 p.m. here, which makes it 11 p.m. on the East Coast. 2.5 hours from now, and no updates to any of those storms at this point. This is what it is right now. If you've got any questions for us whilst we're on the air, do send them in. We do plan to be here all day. So if you think anyone else would benefit from our stream, we're not going anywhere anytime soon. If we do go away, we'll keep up the graphics on the screen. But I don't anticipate we'll be going away anytime soon. It's going to be a long day today and an even longer day tomorrow.
It's going to be a very, very long day. A long and terrible day. Watching the potential major hurricane landfall, if it does come to fruition, and also Jose. But how much more? In fact, how much luck can I'm going to rephrase that because that's not really worded well. But the islands that have already been smashed and completely destroyed by Irma, I mean, surely they need a break, and they need a major break. They don't need Jose. Jose is just literally rubbing it in. It's just rubbing salt into the wounds. It's taking the mickey. To be honest, I hope that Jose doesn't even go anywhere near those islands, because they don't need this right now. They really don't.
I'm sure we do. Okay, well, hey, the latest, you can see the storm Irma continue to move a little bit towards the west-northwest. This is only over a 12. In fact, it's not a 12-minute period that we're looking at. There's a little gap there for some reason in the coverage. But I'm looking at the eye wall right now. The southeastern side looking a little bit flaky. Anyway, we'll move on to some questions. If you've got any questions for us, do send them in. Start your message with Force 13, all in text. Do you think that Irma will start her turn earlier than the forecasts, Craig?
No, she's moving at 16 miles an hour. And still moving west-northwest, but not if she's moving at 16 miles an hour. That would mean she would have to have a major effect of something to slow her right on down so that she could turn.
Well, at the moment, it's pretty much following the NHC forecast to the letter.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But when the turn does happen, that's when things are really going to start getting very, very ugly. Especially for Cuba and Florida. Especially if they are forecasting a turn the way they are. But I think is it sharp turn or is it gradual? I think it's just a gradual turn.
More gradual than they've been saying recently.
Yeah, a gradual turn with time, with what I'm looking at in the NHC forecast. But this is really something not to take for granted.
Let's read out some local warnings in Florida now, if I may. A flood warning is already in effect for the Mayaca River at Mayaca River State Park. And, well, they say water levels are expected to decline over the next several days. I doubt that. That's the only flood warning that's currently in effect. I think it's been rolling for quite some time.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking through the local hurricane statement just to see if there's anything interesting to read out. Just to remind everyone of the storm surge warning and hurricane warning, which is in effect for coastal Broward, coastal Collier, coastal Miami-Dade, coastal Palm Beach, far south Miami-Dade, inland Collier, inland Miami-Dade, all of those areas, mainland Monroe, and metro Miami-Dade. Storm surge expected, and that could be a really significant surge that occurs there.
Yeah, that either way, this thing is really going to be a major threat, storm surge and wind-wise. But to say, regardless of strength, it's still a major hurricane. So please pay close attention to it.
Here's the evacuation information right now. There's a mandatory evacuation ordered for areas east of Federal Highway, Barrier Islands, low-lying areas, and mobile homes in Broward County. Collier County, mandatory evacuations of mobile homes, Goodland, Everglades City, and Chokoloskee, starting at 1 p.m. on Friday, today. Miami-Dade, mandatory evacuation of mobile homes, evacuation Zone A, Zone B, portions of Zone C, and barrier islands, which include Bal Harbour, Bay Harbour Islands, Golden Beach, Indian Creek Village, Miami Beach, North Bay Village, Sunny Isles Beach, and Surfside. In Palm Beach County, mandatory evacuation of Zones A and B, as well as mobile homes and flood-prone areas. Voluntary evacuation of Zone C. I'd go if I were you. Effective at 10 a.m. Friday. Well, it's easy saying to go though, Craig, but I think a lot of people do worry about. Historically, what's always been an issue is people worry about the hurricane coming and residents not being able to defend their homes from looters and stuff after the storm.
Yeah, that is generally a major problem during hurricanes, and it's a hard one to try and go on about. But I know looters will be a major problem.
It depends what you value, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Mainly stores and all that have been completely smashed open and all that. They'll be obviously the center of it because food and all that, and people will be wanting to grab as much food as they can. So
just as well, a mandatory evacuation is in effect for all Florida Keys residents and visitors. So the Florida Keys are going to be completely desolate at the end of today, or they ought to be. Now that's going to be, there's one single carriageway road that goes out of the Florida Keys, and everyone is going to be on that.
We're pretty much already looking at gridlock here for any if evacuations haven't started yet in Key West, or in the Florida Keys at least. Good Lord.
It's crazy. Just to see if there's any more evacuation orders. I don't have any more specific information about evacuations over in Florida. Okay, let's read out something else then, something that was issued early this morning. High rip current risk in effect from 7 a.m. this morning until this evening, obviously. The National Weather Service in Melbourne issued a high rip current risk, and that will be all day, with the highest threat occurring early this morning and again this afternoon through around sunset. I don't know why you'd go swimming anyway in Florida right now, but some people no doubt will. I'm just looking out for any other information that might be beneficial here. Water spouts are possible on all South Florida waters. Winds will increase by tonight, with marine conditions rapidly deteriorating. And looks like today heat index values will exceed 105 across much of South Florida.
Yeah, water spouts are the threat of water spouts. I mean, that's something. It's something else to be wary of, because sometimes they will probably be hidden in rain, but some of them might be visible. But obviously, the main threat will be the storm surge that's going to come up with Irma. And just going back, if you don't go swimming, don't be daft going swimming. Don't be daft. Please don't do something stupid like that.
Not a chance.
Probably. Oh, yeah, you'd like to hope so. You'd like to hope so.
I am looking at traffic cameras now in the Keys, Craig. There's a mandatory evacuation order for all of the Keys, and I have to tell you, they are completely empty. The road that goes in and out the Keys. Some of it is dual carriageway in the upper Keys, but most of it is single. But I gotta say, over the whole of the road and stretching miles and miles, I can only see one or two cars.
To be honest, I don't know whether either they've left, leaving, but if they're not leaving, I don't think they know how severe this hurricane's going to be. I think they're underestimating Irma.
Well, if the current forecast verifies, but they keep flip-flopping, don't they?
Yeah, but either way, I still think they're horribly underestimating what Irma could cause. And they, to be honest, it's really troubling to see if they haven't gone. Well, they obviously don't know how severe Irma could be, and probably is going to be, in terms of impacts on Florida, let alone everywhere else.
And I'm just looking up I think it was the South Dixie Highway, which is the road that takes you from Homestead towards Miami. And that road's looking pretty quiet as well, I have to say.
Yeah, they were all looking very deserted.
They are, and they're all looking really deserted this morning. So I don't know whether people have already gone or whether a lot of people are staying put, but I don't know.
Last night, and I was expecting to be Lizzie. I woke up, look at them,
yeah, I'm just looking.
Cards.
I'm looking everywhere. I-95, just completely quiet at the moment. It would appear. I'm not seeing any areas of build-up of traffic. Obviously, it's very good news if you're evacuating. You've got a clear run out of there. I'd go if you're in an evacuation zone. I-75 is a little bit busier, but it's still very free-flowing around Fort Myers and north of there. So yeah, not so much an issue with getting out, it would appear.
But the thing that's rather worrying is the question is, I don't know whether people have left early, which that's questionable. But but still, seeing roads completely deserted, completely empty, it does beg the question: have people already left, or are they still?
There's one other thing. I'm looking at there's no webcams on the Florida Turnpike, but at least south of Orlando. But there are some areas that are indicating to me that there is some queuing going on there on the Florida Turnpike. So maybe a lot of people going from Miami to Orlando. And north of Orlando as well, there's quite a bit of queuing, especially where the Turnpike meets I-75.
Yeah, it's going to be.
But that's quite far away, and I'm looking further north here towards Gainesville and towards Jacksonville. There's quite a lot of queuing and slow traffic going further north towards Tallahassee but that might be normal build up. But in the areas that we're most concerned about towards the very south of Florida, the traffic is extremely light. So if anyone's still thinking about the idea of whether to evacuate or not, if you're in Miami, Homestead, further south, across the Everglades, Naples, anywhere like that, it looks okay to evacuate if you're going to do it. But hey, there we go. Where do we go from here? I think we're joined by Devon, actually. Are you with us? Maybe not. We don't have his audio right now.
Major connection issues.
He's got connection issues.
Major connection issues.
And again, we're looking at the imagery of Irma. And we don't have the usual infrared imagery that we have often been showing. But the water vapor imagery is what we are showing right now, and still showing some really impressive bands around the center of the storm, but it seems to be a perpetual eye wall replacement.
Probably doing what it did last time, which was doing it the weird way. Oh wait, it's a weird storm. So there's our weird but yet unpredictable and extremely dangerous. But looking at the newer images on the Go 16 IR, The eye wall has expanded, so there is warmer cloud tops on the eastern side. So that's probably the newer eye, the eye expanding now, and probably the newer eye coming through. But well, obviously, I'll let everyone know if that changes in any way, which it probably will because it's Irma.
Let's go back to the visible. This is the latest close-up visible imagery of the storm right now. And if you've been watching in previous days, you'll notice that the eye is a lot more ragged than it used to be. But hey, Craig, it looks to me it's moving due west. You still there?
Yeah, my connection got really
Your connection's
choppy.
poor as
Sorry.
well. Gee, everyone's having issues here. Moving due west by the looks of things.
Oh, I'm trying to. I'm updating the Go 16 visible, so I'm gonna have there if my connection doesn't go down the royal loop,
Right.
so to speak. Looks generally straight west, but it's. But it does look like it in a Go 16 visible, so in more rules.
Let's see
But
if
then
we
again,
can.
what rules?
Let's see if we can get an eye temperature right now, and conduct our little operation. Oh, well, no, don't zoom out. That's.
That's not the wisest of ideas.
Well, it's something I didn't anticipate. So the eye temperature was something like. It doesn't actually say on that. I thought it would show the actual number. It was something like 14. A little bit less. I think. I can't remember. It was in the low teens. And
AGT says plus 10.1
plus
degrees
10.1. Yeah, that's not a very good number.
No.
In terms of the strength of the storm, that would denote to me, with the cloud tops it's currently got, that the winds are still around 150 and not intensifying. So that's good news. We want it to weaken, of course. We want this thing to die as soon as possible. That would be very nice. Unlike most of the mainstream media who want this to be the and are really trying and pushing for it to be the most intense, most worst, most damaging, most deadliest storm in world history. It's none of those, by the way. Some of the UK media is even worse, saying that it was the strongest storm ever, and it maintained Category 5 intensity for longer than any other storm in the world, longer than beating Typhoon Haiyan, which is in itself a lie. That was according to the BBC last night. That was incorrect. It's got nothing on many of the West Pacific typhoons, but they need to clarify. They need to clarify what the records are. This is the strongest. This is officially the second strongest storm, tied second strongest storm in the Atlantic. By Force 13's analysis, it's the joint third strongest storm in the Atlantic. Whichever way you look at it, it's in the top 5, which is extremely impressive. Isn't any more, I stress. And it's maintained. I haven't looked at that record much, but I'll believe Craig and whoever when they say that it's the longest storm to have winds of 175 miles an hour or more in the Atlantic, and probably the longest Category 5 in the Atlantic without losing its Category 5 intensity, because quite often storms do lose their Category 5 intensity in eye wall replacement cycles just to get it back again. Examples: Alan, Ivan. I think did Isabel do that as well? I'm trying to think of another one. There was another one. I forget what. But there we go. Didn't Felix do that as well?
Do what?
Reach Category 5 intensity twice.
Or
was it Dean?
Hang on.
I always forget which is which, honestly. Maybe both of them did it.
We never know.
We don't know at this point whether Irma will join that club as well and become a Category 5 for a second time. It is possible, but at the moment it's not happening yet, and there's no sign of that happening yet.
Felix managed to reach Category 5 twice. Just checking Dean. I think Dean only once.
Right, okay. Well, that's that specific ironed out. If you've got any questions for us, do send them in. Do you think this will head to the west coast now and intensify? 50-50 chance, according to the National Hurricane Center.
No, it's pretty good odds for it to do so, and there's pretty good odds to do so. It is touch and go, whether it does or not. But I think it'll be one of them ones to wait and see what happens with her, whether she does or not.
What will the winds be like in West Palm Beach? Well, that's a question that would draw a lot of speculation because the answer is really not known at all. Major hurricane conditions are possible, but I wouldn't say are likely at this time. I would suggest that hurricane force winds are quite likely there. I would suggest at this point to expect Matthew-like conditions in West Palm Beach. That's Skype launching, by the way, in the background.
Oh dear.
Because we're on all platforms here at Force 13 HQ. Is Irma stronger than Katrina? Well, the answer is yes, but it and Katrina are extremely different storms and quite incomparable. Katrina brought with it a monstrous storm surge thanks to the local terrain. Very thankfully, Katrina weakened substantially from its Category 5 peak just before making landfall in Louisiana. Hopefully this does the same, but at the moment models are suggesting that might not happen. Obviously we'll just keep you posted on what happens throughout today. Do stay tuned and we'll have more information in the latest satellite imagery and everything humanly possible to bring to you. But
yes,
yeah, that's where we are right now.
Yeah, looking at the latest Go 16 IR, the eye is now getting ready to expand and clear out in the warmer section, which is on the eastern side of the eye wall. So the brand new eye looks to be coming out.
A question: potential impacts in Port St. Lucie. I remember during Hurricane Matthew on one of the evenings and mornings we were there in Port St. Lucie with one of the cameras watching what was going on, and that was rather interesting. Again, I'd suggest, at the moment, I would suggest Matthew-like conditions for those areas, but that is by no means guaranteed. Could be better, could be worse, you know, because if the storm makes landfall further south in Florida, those places further north, particularly Port St. Lucie and north of there, will not have as substantial effects as what they saw during Matthew, but may still have some significant rainfall. In the meantime, you can see on the imagery everything that's going on with the there's the model runs that you saw briefly, and then the wider picture showing all three storms active at the same time over here in the Atlantic. And nothing else is going on elsewhere around the world either, by the way. It's as if everything just stopped to watch the Atlantic whilst it did its thing.
And just looking at the views of to be
really
more organized.
Go ahead.
Internet, chop. Come on, catch up here. We've got three hurricanes. Surely you can deal with.
Okay.
But looking at Katia right now, the eye looks to be more organized than what it was in the last few frames. The eye looks like it's going to try and clear itself out. It's looking a lot better. It could be reaching Category 2, but Recon, I think, did a drop zone. Yes, they did, and found 975.
975.
I this Katia.
Okay, we got the gist of that, I guess. 975 in Katia right now, according to Recon.
And looking at Recon, I'm actually getting more. Yeah, okay, so right, Irma's Recon's now finally starting to update. It's finally got up to date. Looking at it right now, they've found on both on the northeastern eye wall. Well, anyway, what looks to be in the range of 137 knots on the northwestern eye wall and northeastern eye wall.
Say that again.
I don't know whether at least they've found connection issues. I think he is.
We're really struggling, but can you just repeat what you just said there? Were you talking about Irma just then?
Yeah, Irma's Recon.
And they got 137 knots flight level, or?
Yeah, not probably. Yeah, they have found that at flight level, which there's no fixed point because sadly it doesn't give you that range of wind speed scale. It just goes certain range between certain amount of knots and then another, and then it goes from the high scale 137 and beyond. It doesn't give you any other further scale to what's being said on the scale. And I think Devon's doing right, but depending if his connection would allow him. So they're obviously which one's Irma? I wonder. But I don't know whether Devon could could explain what's on his screen right now if his mic is capable.
He is here.
I've been working at it really hard, but yeah, I finally got into the stream.
But the question is now, how long are you going to maintain?
Knowing my previous connection history, maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to turn the Force 13 webcam off because that's taking up some needed connection over here as well, believe it or not.
Really? Good grief.
Because I want to use that same connection to show us something else. Well, Devon's thing just went there.
Oh,
I had to because as soon as I popped up that screen share, everything started going out on me.
Wow.
Oh God.
So screen share is really not a option for me, but I am at least here for.
Yeah. Let's see if we can now look at what's going on in Miami. Here's the latest webcam from Miami Beach, or what it did look like. That's an uber close-up. I'll try and get that properly on the screen shortly. But still not working very well for me either with the webcams. But in any case, Devon, can you still speak to us there? And what are your latest thoughts on Irma? And still not at Category 5 intensity, no doubt, but is it strengthening?
And this should really come as no surprise. Like I said last night, it was on awakening trend, but as I said, it's going to be a temporary awakening trend. And well, we're just going to see what the impacts in Cuba are, and it all depends on how much this storm gets of Cuba, is how much this storm will get of Florida, pretty much. It looks like, nonetheless, that the storm's going to pass very, very close by Cuba, if not over it. And one would think that passing that close would definitely take at least a little bit out of the intensity, because if it wasn't for all the land in front of it, it would almost certainly go back up to a Category 5.
This could potentially be, from a Florida perspective, one could hope that that this could be one forecast that goes wrong, and maybe the UK Met or the NavGem will be right, and the storm does go into Cuba and it will weaken substantially. Not good for Cuba, of course, but it would help Florida out a little bit.
It would help Florida out a little bit. I would say that the one storm in all of Atlantic history that has made direct landfall on Inagua Island has also made landfall on Cuba.
That's interesting.
So I will say that this storm does appear to still be moving.
Oh, eyes looking a bit lopsided in the latest imagery, Devon. I'm going to show this shortly as soon as I get some new info.
Yeah, the storm appears to be moving just north of west right now, and its northward component's only going to get larger as time goes on here. All we can do at this moment is sit and wait. Impacts in Florida are pretty much certain at this moment. We just got to see what those impacts are.
And brief pause there, but if you've got any questions for us whilst we're on the stream, do send them in. Devon, what do you think about the track evolution from the National Hurricane Center back west again, and potential landfall location? The whole of the Keys is under mandatory evacuations.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, that is. Well, it isn't, but I was looking at traffic cameras earlier, and the whole of the southern part of Florida, Miami, the Keys, Homestead, the western coast, Fort Myers, all empty, but there seems to be heavier traffic Orlando northwards.
Well, then I guess that means that, whatever people are staying, they're obviously confident that they're going to be okay, and whatever people needed to leave got out. And I've been seeing that people have been trying to get away from this storm, which is a good thing. But one thing I would like to emphasize is that this is the absolute last day that you will be able to evacuate from this storm, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and what do you think about Jose right now, potentially on the verge of Category 4?
No way, Jose. No, but in all seriousness, it looks like that those islands that were just affected by Irma are going to get a nice little grazing by Jose. Hopefully no hurricane force winds are coming upon the islands, but it does look like that they're definitely going to get some tropical storm force winds. And then, of course, we can't ignore Katia, which is it's a very tiny storm that can do just about anything. We'll just have to see.
That's the latest view from Miami Beach right now. Not looking too much different, to be honest, if you could see it properly, but there it was anyway.
I bet it's sunny there.
Sunny, yes.
The calm before the storm.
And probably hot too, because it was saying in southern Florida heat indexes of 105 today.
That's normal for them in the summer.
Okay. Is it still summer?
Close enough. I mean, you got to figure that Florida is close enough to the tropics that they only have 2 seasons, hot and not so hot. So.
Questions
hot,
then.
Very, very, very warm though.
Questions then. Do you think Irma will hit Cuba? We've sort of just discussed that, really.
No, Irma's kind of hitting Cuba right now, so. Yeah, I'm almost certain that Irma's going to hit Cuba as far as a landfall's concerned.
It'll probably end up grazing the coast of Cuba, I expect. But hey, and Katia, Devon. That's intensifying as well, and if that becomes a major thing, good lord, where do we go next?
Well, it would be the first time that the Atlantic has boasted 3 major hurricanes at the exact same time, which comes as a shock to me. 2010 and 1961 both missed it by 6 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in 2010, we had Igor, Carl, and Julia. That was about as close to simultaneous, 3 simultaneous majors that we've ever had. But
There's a current view in downtown Miami right now, and again a very sunny view. No wind by the looks of things yet. It's still a very far away storm, but a storm that's moving at 16 miles an hour. It's faster than most people walk and some people run, so it's running towards Florida.
yeah, and good luck to the people that are trying to ride out this hurricane. Me personally, I don't think I would have stayed in. If you're pretty much anywhere south of Fort Myers, whether if you're on the east or the west coast
Right.
of the storm, I personally wouldn't have stayed. But if you're riding this out, it's you don't want to be caught in that situation where you've got waters rising really quickly and you've got category 1, category 2 winds outside.
Yeah. Alright. I appreciate the stream's been a little bit slow this hour, but we've been trying to get things sorted out. But questions still, differences between Harvey and Irma. Quite a few. Don't know if you want to take that
Yes.
away on us. Greg?
There's some maybe some pretty.
Spit it out, Craig. Some big differences. Okay, we've lost Craig. There are some big differences between Harvey and Irma. Harvey didn't become a Category 5. Harvey intensified rapidly just before landfall. Irma has been intense for quite a long time.
A lot stronger than what Irma was a lot stronger. Looking at it, it near enough did the same. So replacement didn't really get rid of the original, clouded over, and then come.
We're really struggling with that
Obviously,
signal, unfortunately, Craig.
Internet, you're going to be struggling when I deal with you.
We're all struggling. Well, hey, Devon, I gotta take notice of what's going on in northeastern I right now on Ghost 16. It's the worst I've ever seen the inner part of the storm look since it reached Category 5.
Probably due to the eyewall replacement cycle. I'm looking at the infrared satellite, which admittedly is 45 minutes out of date, but it looks like that there's a clearing for the outer eye wall to finally take control, and it looks like that the eye might possibly double in size here shortly.
Well, maybe, but in the last 15 minutes, it looks like the eye has been squished west to east.
Well, then that is certainly interesting. You know, obviously we don't want this storm to strengthen.
Of course.
No, we don't want any strengthening with this storm.
To me, it looks like weakening for the time being, but for how long is the question.
That's pretty much been the question since yesterday when it underwent this absolutely devastating eyewall replacement cycle. I mean, it's completely ruined the structure of this storm, and I still don't think that it's fully recovered, or even close to fully recovered.
Yeah, and maybe it won't. Let's hope so. I mean, it will be more difficult for this storm to intensify. We gotta go. We'll be back in a few minutes. This is Force 13 Live. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. This is Force 13 Live, and as you can see on the left hand side of your screen, Jose has intensified to winds of 150 miles per hour and a pressure of 942 millibars. Hurricane watches are in effect for Antigua, Barbuda and Anguilla, St. Martin and St. Barthélemy. Tropical storm warning for Antigua, Barbuda and Anguilla, and tropical storm watch for Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba and St. Eustatius. Which means that it's now as strong as Irma is, both with winds of 150 miles per hour in the Atlantic. And Irma now has a storm surge warning. This isn't new news, this is the same as it was before. Storm surge warning for Jupiter Inlet southward around the Florida Panhandle to Bonita Beach and the Florida Keys. Same with the hurricane warning for that area, also includes Lake Okeechobee and Florida Bay, as well as the whole of the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos Islands, and a whole bunch of other places. Let's get some reaction. In the room right now, we've got Craig and Devon. Thoughts?
What was in my lunch? Where did this come from?
Right.
Well, like I said, Recon, I just looked, and Recon found a 165 mile per hour, 10-second flight level wind with the storm in the north something eyewall, and I'm going to guess that that translates to 150 miles per hour 1 minute sustained on the ground. So there you go.
Well, there we are, and breaking the news as it happens, I guess. will now display it on the screen just for those who do not see. Jose upgraded to Category 4 with winds of 150 miles an hour. It's the craziest thing.
I mean, I don't think it's that far fetched. It does look very good on satellite.
Yeah, it's not far fetched. But it's very interesting. We're waiting on some more infrared imagery of Irma. That would be nice. But there isn't much of it coming out at the moment. The usual infrared view that I look at isn't producing anything at the moment. Or the... well, no, we've just got the water vapor. And I think you're going to be right here, Devon, with this bigger eye going to be appearing soon.
Yeah, I was actually just about to comment on that. I got the latest Dvorak imagery, and this is as of, 20 minutes ago. The storm appears to be, the eye at least appears to be clearing out really rapidly, but the good news is that the cloud tops, at least on the southeastern side, are also warming significantly. So they're losing intensity, at least thunderstorm intensity. So if the eye clears out, it doesn't look like that it's going to get back up to its intensity of 185 miles an hour beforehand, which is obviously a good thing.
And again, we worry for those islands. For Jose, I mean, could it be another Category 5 landfall on Barbuda? My God.
Oh God, no more, please.
It looks like I'm pretty sure Jose is supposed to pass to the north of those islands.
Not by very much.
No, not by very much. They're still going to get tropical storm force winds and maybe hurricane force winds, but I don't think it's going to be a landfall.
Well, that's good, I guess. But not really.
Not really that good at all. But looking at the recent microwave imagery of Jose, it definitely does look the part for 150 miles an hour. It certainly looks good in microwave.
Yeah, we're just trying to get the Irma imagery to play here properly. Once it does, you'll be able to see its 12-minute progression better. I mean, people are asking about whether Irma will become stronger and stuff, and it's not showing signs yet, but with this new eye, and it's one of the larger eyes.
One of the largest eyes from its life yet.
When it comes out, it's just... who knows what might happen.
Oh God.
I would like to comment that right now, it looks like that there's a very tiny little island chain in the Bahamas that are pretty much going to be getting into the eye right now.
They do have a name. It was at the top of the hour listed. The storm is 51 miles away from those islands, and it was 52 miles east-southeast of Little Ragged Island, which is the name of the islands, and that's moved in closer by probably about 16 miles an hour, which is what the NHC say. So you take that rate of speed, it'll be there in 3 hours or so, just over 3 hours till the eye enters.
I think they might be getting into the eye right now as it's developing.
Recon or the island?
The islands.
Right.
There's Duncan Town. That's I'm gonna guess the big town on this island chain. But there's a bunch of islands here. We've got Ragged Island and Little Ragged Island. Maycock Cay. We've got Double Breadstead Cay, Pimlico Cay, Raccoon Cay, Buena Vista Cay, and Nurse Cay, at least for the major islands there.
Gee. Well, at this point, you can see all of the 3 storms, and they've all got watches and warnings in effect, and it's just nuts right now. If you've got any questions for us, that's probably the best way we can help directly. You can also, of course, find us on our social mediums, such Force13 on Facebook and Twitter. And you can add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord. And also, not only have we got these 3 storms, but we've also got the area of interest that's entering the scene, 20% chance in the next 5 days.
Oh, dear God.
You didn't know? Craig didn't know.
Atlantic, can we not all have a minute's peace? And again,
This has been the case since last night, actually.
So yeah, but the question is, when last night?
Towards the end of last night's show, so a good 12 hours ago, a bit more than that.
I wouldn't have been around to see that news then, so yeah. Oops.
But yeah, you could have the next storm, which of course will be named Lee. I don't know what's going on with that imagery, by the way, with the latest on the water vapor wide shot. Let me just reload that and see if it does any better, because it's just completely freaking out at the moment, that imagery. Now there it is.
Is it freaking out at the news that
No.
Jose's become a high-end Cat 4?
There it is, it's better now, and you can see them all there. And as we flick by, you can see all of the advisories. Can you believe that Jose is now as strong as Irma?
No. I can't really believe that. Where did this come from all of a sudden? Honestly, where did that come from?
Alright, just trying to get our bearings back here. But just a reminder here about all of the evacuations. These are the following places in regards to evacuations. Broward County, mandatory evacuation ordered for areas east of Federal Highway, barrier islands, low-lying areas, and mobile homes. Collier County, mandatory evacuations for mobile homes, Goodland, Everglades City, and Chokoloskee starting at 1 p.m. That's coming up in just a few hours. Miami-Dade, mandatory evacuation of mobile homes, evacuation Zone A, Zone B, portions of Zone C, and barrier islands, which include Bal Harbor, Bay Harbor Islands, Golden Beach, Indian Creek Village, Miami Beach, North Bay Village, Sunny Isles Beach, and Surfside. So really taking this yeah. I don't know what the evacuations were like during Matthew, but I'm guessing they were pretty similar. Palm Beach County, mandatory evacuation of zones A and B, as well as mobile homes and flood-prone areas. Voluntary evacuation of zone C, effective at 10 a.m. And there was some more mandatory evacuation for all of the Florida Keys, residents and visitors. But as I said before, traffic in the southern half, south of Lake Okeechobee, traffic is really good across southern Florida. So if you are evacuating, it's happening now. You got to do it now. I think we've got Devon's shot of the infrared that I would have always liked to have shown, but haven't been able to so far. And there you can see its progression and what's going on in that eastern side.
Absolutely gorgeous rapid scan imagery here produced by Go16. It's the first time I've been able to see infrared on the rapid scan anyways. And I gotta say, it looks
Well, now you know what
really
you've been
great.
missing out on. But yeah. What do you think of those cloud tops right now?
Hopefully they continue to weaken.
Will Irma make landfall on the west coast of Florida?
I'm not gonna necessarily speculate where landfall is going
No,
to
none of us
occur,
can.
but
As I say, it's a coin toss right
it's a
now.
tough call. I can't say no, but I can't say yes either.
It would be
There's
irresponsible
really,
either way, wouldn't it?
yeah, there's
Mm.
plus also where on the west coast of Florida, like
Yeah.
there's at least 400 miles of coastline there.
At the moment, it would suggest maybe the Everglades.
Which would probably be the best case scenario for Florida, since absolutely nothing's there. So perhaps the radius of maximum winds would go over a place where very few people live,
There's a lot of
and
water in
that
the
would be
Everglades,
a
and the
good thing.
storm might not weaken so much.
That is a definite concern. Yes. However, you just hope that the radius of maximum winds doesn't pass over a large area, because if it hits anywhere on the east coast, it's going to hit a large area, and if it hits anywhere on the west coast, anywhere near Fort Myers and north, that's all densely populated as well.
Oh yeah. Any more news on Recon? I mean, they've not said anything about Katia at all, apart from I think what Craig said earlier, 975 pressure, you said, and I don't remember what wind you said about that.
It was at least high in Category 1,
Right.
but I haven't seen much out of it. If I could find it. But Recon did another drops on into Irma and found 927 millibars, so it's sustained air pressure.
Interesting. Yeah, that's probably about right.
Recon has now found an air pressure that has gone down from 980 millibars to 975. I think I just already mentioned that earlier, but I would just bring that up now. It's 2 millibars deeper than what the NHC's got it right.
Crazy season, huh?
Welcome to peak season, folks, where the Atlantic throws
It
out
is.
absolute nightmares of hurricanes.
Sure is. And this is what we have.
Yep, and this is what. Well,
What was I gonna say?
this is only September, so early stages of September, and I hate to see what the rest of September's got. Oh, God.
Yeah, throughout today we may be joined by more people at some point, but I do not know. And we're just waiting for more information, I guess.
Yeah. That's all we can really do. Just wait to see what else changes. But
no signs of intensification just yet from Irma, but let's see if we can now get a new imagery of Jose at all. And see what we can bring up.
Looking at some of the Western Pacific Invest 94 and 95 and along now the Newborn 96W I don't know what they're up to, apart from just being boring.
Yeah, new invests over there,
Obviously,
correct?
yeah, 3 new invests. They all obviously 96W looks disorganized. 95 looks disorganized, but still obviously days for them yet. 94W, if the Navy site would hurry up. TCFA looks to be an issue on it, so that one could be the next tropical depression in the American Pacific, after the last one fell flat on its face.
Here's a look at Jose, and the current temperature of the Jose's eye. Oh, there's the latest image of Jose. The temperature of the eye some time ago was about -1. It's now +11. So you know where we're looking at. Again, it's.
That is rapid warming of the eye. That's
maximum cloud top temperatures around -68. Minimum cloud top temperatures something like -73. So SATOPS our satellite observations would suggest something around 145 to 150. Recon says 150. So satellite doesn't look too much of a departure from what's been observed. And those poor islands all in between these two storms right now.
Yeah, unfortunately stuck in between a rock and a hard place, unfortunately.
Which one's the rock and which one's the hard place?
Take your pick. You've got 2 hurricanes. You can improvise with both. Either way, they're both just as bad as one another. But look, yeah, Jose right.
Move further west and you'll see Katia, also with its eye
That
emerging.
That Jose is really does take. Double me, call the apocalypse.
Struggling with your signal again over there, Craig.
Yeah, I'm hearing double me's.
Double you.
Call the apocalypse. If you hear double me's, folks, let's get the apocalypse started.
But Katia's eye trying to emerge as well, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Katia has been trying for the last couple of hours or so, but not to real success. But obviously, land interaction is going to start proving a major problem with it soon, if not already is.
Let's get visible on these. This is how they look on visible imagery. And you can see how close the peripheral edges of Irma is from Florida now, and it's pretty close. You get the first cirrus just starting to appear now on the horizon if you're looking southeast from the evacuation places along the Florida Keys, southeastern Florida. Starting to get close.
But you can just see this, looking at the live stream, the satellite imagery of the whiteout views of Irma, Katia, and Jose. You can tell this between Irma and Jose when you put Jose and Katia into the same view, and you see little Katia in the Gulf of Mexico. You can really see the size difference. I mean, Irma is a rather large storm, obviously, with the eye wall replacements caused it to expand, but then again, as Nathan said, it's a walking eye wall replacement storm. But you would rather call it a spinning eye wall replacement show, really. But looking at Irma, I mean, it's recent history. It's been doing is more than I've seen in the last few days. That's all it seemed to do in its early days until it reached Category 5 status.
And those small islands there on the western side of this storm's eye, Irma, that's the little ragged islands, I think it was.
Mm.
And that's how close it's getting towards the eye. That's not the latest imagery. This is what the latest imagery looks like right now. I've only got the water vapor. In fact, even that is not the latest right now. I'm just going to get that. Here it is now, if we can get it. There it is. So looking right close, zoom in there in relation to those islands. It's probably in the worst of the storm right now.
Or if not, encroaching in on it.
Well, it looks the biggest cloud tops are over those islands right now, and just lesser cloud tops as you get closer to the eye. I don't know how that translates to the winds, but
well, Devin said, but
in any case, if you've just joined us, the breaking news was that Jose is upgraded to a Category 4 storm with winds of 150 miles an hour. It would be called a super typhoon in the West Pacific. And so would Irma. They've both got the same wind speed.
Yeah, and I'm afraid I've got some bad news.
Oh no.
I'm gonna guess it right now that the NHC is gonna put Irma back up to Category 5 on the next advisory.
oh, why is that?
10-second winds of 160 miles an hour in the northeastern eye wall.
Oh,
Ground level.
oh,
Not
oh,
good.
oh dear.
One of the worst looking Category 5s, if that's the case, though.
Well, you could say it doesn't look like a cat eye, but worse are looking what Irma is. I'm pretty sure that if anyone looked really hard enough, you would find something worse looking than Irma. But if that is the case, then it could become a Category 5 again.
Having said that, the imagery we're looking at right now is nearly half an hour old, and maybe it's looked better since then.
That is very.
Oh, but this is the latest we've got right now, anyway.
But regardless, looking at if we look again in the next update from NHC, it's still a major hurricane. It's still a violent hurricane that's proving a major threat. It's if it does hit land, and even if it doesn't, it's going to cause heavy damage to buildings. Even well-built homes will be heavily damaged in these winds. So,
oh, hey,
if you are planning to...
here's some more new imagery. My goodness, what is it doing? Craig, can you see this on the stream?
Yeah, that is being weird.
I don't know if you've got the very latest right now, but I mean, what is it doing?
Yeah, I've got the latest IR. Is back to being its usual weirdness, and the eye is also trying to expand at the same time. Irma, what are you doing?
My goodness.
Irma, the hurricane that can't hurricane right.
Well,
seems to be the case.
You know,
for most of his life, but then again, it could just be one of them ones where it's trying to sort of recently found there's still some of the inner eye still left over. But I reckon
what's left of it is going to be gone in about 3 hours, Craig.
Yeah, but that's only what the recon plane's radar are not seeing. So
we'll have an update from the National Hurricane Center on all of the storms in half an hour.
And as I said, I'm very surprised if the NHC doesn't go right back up to Category 5 with this storm on the next advisory.
Wow. Crazy. really doesn't look the part.
But then again, it didn't really look the part when it reached 185. So,
No,
Yeah.
it definitely didn't. It didn't even look.
so
It didn't even look like a Cat 5 when it was 185. So
I mean, if it did never even I mean, without recon, you would be calling that at least, well, category 3 at the least.
I would have said mid-range 4, and it would have intensified more as it got
Uh,
north of those islands when it definitely looked like a solid 5 for a good 36 hours. But
mm,
yeah, without the planes, I don't think this would have ever been upgraded to a 5, no doubt.
yes. And if it was, well, God help the island, well, the Leeward Islands that were already smashed by Irma.
It's terrible.
Mm.
Okay, Recon's finally back up to date for
Oh, yes.
Irma.
And what's it
Which
got?
is about
Yeah, it's probably going to be another hour till we get that northwestern eye wall. And that's going to be really interesting to see what they pick up there. But yeah, don't be surprised if the next update is 160 or even probably even higher.
Yeah. Well, we're waiting for more news from the National Hurricane Center, where they will update in around 30 minutes or less, as the case may be. The hurricane probabilities remain elevated. Even in Barbuda, 22% chance of hurricane conditions. And I think it's getting towards 65% in parts of Florida now, Devon.
Oh, I think that's obviously only going to increase as time goes on. I mean, it looks like I can say pretty much with almost certainty that the Central Keys are going to be getting some really, really big winds from this storm, no matter what happens in Florida. And the Everglades are probably going to get some really bad winds as well. As far as the effects for Miami, it's less certain, and then further north up to Fort Lauderdale and Fort Myers.
We're waiting up for these updates, which should be out soon, but when was the last time you remember two storms of 150 miles an hour coexisting in the Atlantic, Devon?
Was Julia 150 miles an hour?
I've no idea. I'll
Because
find
my
out.
gut instinct says Igor and Julia, but that's probably wrong.
Yeah, Julia's only 130.
Well then, I really can't think of, well, what other storms would have been simultaneously almost a Cat 5.
Oh, gee.
It's just crazy.
No, I can't think of anything offhand. Usually you get two storms that come one after the other, but not at the same time exactly. Usually a few days apart. So we'll just wait and see whether Irma's a Category 5 again or not, and the media will be extremely happy if it is again. As a whole. Those crazy people. But, we're concerned as always. Let's reiterate some of the warnings right now whilst we wait. Storm surge warnings are in effect for Jupiter Inlet around the Florida Peninsula to Bonita Beach and the Florida Keys. A hurricane warning is in effect for the same area and also Lake Okeechobee, Florida Bay, the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, the rest of the Bahamas, Cuban provinces of Camagüey, Ciego de Avila, Sancti Spiritus and Villa Clara. A storm surge watch for north of Jupiter Inlet to Sebastian Inlet and north of Bonita Beach to Venice. A hurricane watch for north of Jupiter Inlet to Sebastian Inlet and north of Bonita Beach to Ana Maria Island, and the Cuban provinces of Guantanamo, Holguin, Las Tunas and Matanzas. A tropical storm warning in effect for the Cuban provinces of Guantanamo, Holguin and Las Tunas. They'll probably do the update on maybe Katia first, and it has actually now category 2 with winds of 100 miles an hour. That's the latest on Katia. That's breaking news. Katia now a category 2 storm with winds of 100 miles per hour. No warnings have changed, and they're now expecting that Katia is peaking. Won't be too much longer until we get the update on Jose, and I'm guessing that Irma will come last again, but maybe not, considering they just did that update on Jose not so long ago. And the answer is, I'm pretty sure that there hasn't been 2 Category 5s active at the same time in the Atlantic. There's not too many of us here in the studio at the moment, and there's not too many things to say besides these updates, so I think we might finish up here and go back to regular recorded updates throughout today, since the threat to Florida still remains uncertain, and the storm, as it draws closer, still not too much on the ground going on. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, as you said, there's really not much to say right now. We're just waiting. That's all that we can really do at this point, is just wait for new images and new updates from the NHC.
Waiting for the hurricane hunters as well to get some information, as they've been doing all the time. And the satellite imagery is forever inconclusive. And just see if there's a new image now on the satellite. For Irma, at least. Give us any clues as to what it's doing. And I gotta say, Devon, the eye just looks... It's gone to a complete mess right now. Here's the latest image.
Oh, wow, yeah, I see that too. Good lord, that's interesting.
Yeah, what on earth is it doing?
The entire southern, southeastern side is just gone. Good lord. That is awful.
Yeah, they're gonna call it a Cat 5, maybe.
No, I think it's almost certain that they're gonna do it.
Really? Wow.
They might even go with 165.
Impossible.
The impossible storm that never looked like a Category 5 when it was 5. It could be a Category 5 when the impossible storm.
But if people are thinking we're going to get 2 Category 5s at the same time, I would suggest not. I think it'd be ludicrous.
If it were, then get the Book of Logic and just
It will happen
open the
one day,
window.
but it will happen one day, but I'm not sure it'll be during these storms.
No.
Even if they say it officially, I will not be convinced looking at Irma's current appearance.
That easily reverbs back to when it was 185. It never was 185
Oh yeah.
and found a strong Category 5 win. So pretty much whatever, for whatever storm you look at in terms of satellite estimates are now theoretically useless with Irma now. Because obviously logic is now no more.
Right, something like that. Well, it's been like that all year. It's been like that all year.
Yeah, pretty much.
Arlene had no logic either, forming over.
No. It was literally let's say one of them storms. Blink, you missed it. This is one of them ones. Blink and you missed it.
Well, what it does mean is that if you're a hurricane scientist, well, you're gonna have to go back to the drawing board.
Well, if you're also a hurricane scientist, I hope you've got a lot of painkillers for those headaches.
Something like that.
Good God. Looking at the latest imagery there.
I hate to tell you this, Craig, but I kind of ran out of Tylenol yesterday for those headaches, so I just have to power through it today.
You what? You broke up?
It was Devon making a little joke, that's all.
Oh, right, okay. God damn it.
Anyway, we're just waiting for the latest updates here. Katia's already came out. Pretty straightforward update. They have upgraded it to 100 miles an hour with that pressure of 975. Toggle storm force conditions are likely to begin early this afternoon, along the coast of Mexico.
Recon continues to try to get caught back up here. I thought we were on the correct hour, but we weren't. Now I think we are on the correct hour. Now the Recon's only about a half hour out of date, so potentially we might see another eye pass through shortly, depending on how quickly this data comes through.
Do you think they're holding on and waiting?
That would be the assumption, yeah.
God, the suspense would be killing.
Well, I guess we should settle down here and put our feet up for a moment
and have a little chat about whatever else is going on, except for Irma and all that.
Well, if anyone's got any questions for us, they can send them in. What's the most recent eye temperature of Irma, Jose, and Katia? Katia's temperature is very poor. Irma's latest eye temperature is somewhere around 10 Celsius. Jose is actually warmer, around 11. And was increasing last time I checked, but I haven't checked in a little while. But Jose, definitely, I would say 150. Well, 145 I would have gone with, but Recon found 150.
So that's pretty much near enough. Two storms now that have defied satellite estimates. All thanks to Recon flying in there and finding the true wind speeds.
Yeah, and imagine if we had planes in all of the old storms as well. What do you think they would have found in Allen, Devon? I mean, I guess they were there anyway, but weakened and strengthened like crazy, that storm did. Certainly don't believe the the official take on Alan. All the way, at least. Anyway, will Irma hit Mobile?
That's something I think we can say is unlikely.
Only mobile homes.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to. At least I don't think it's going to make landfall in Alabama as a
No.
major hurricane. You might see some minor effects, but I don't think they're going to be anything too significant right now.
And for Katia, the wind speed probabilities have changed, no doubt. I don't know what they were before. They come on your screen every so often. They were 14% for Tuxpan, and that's gone down to 2%. I don't know why that's happened. It must have really shifted. And Vera Cruz, it was 1%, it's now 3%.
Well, that's just a credit to how small Katia is.
Definitely. And the question is, which update will come out first? Which storm will get the update first? Well, it was Katia, but out of the two others.
Yeah. Out of our 2 Category 4s.
I'm going to take a guess and say that Jose's is going to come out last because they kind of already just did an update 1 hour ago. Meanwhile, Irma, they just... You're going to see the track shift west again in the National Hurricane Center cone. I can almost guarantee you that. We'll just have to see. I'm saying that cone's going to shift west, and they're going to put it up to 160, 165.
And to shift it east, you never know. You're confident it's going to move west? What do you think about the models?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident that it's going to go westward because the model cluster also moved westward. So.
Right. Anything you want to comment about with regard to any of the models right now? Anything of note?
Anything of note? Nope.
Okay. That's that.
No, not at all. Just nothing of note.
Someone asking about the National Hurricane Center now has the wind field shown on their map. Is this a new thing? No. Well, it started doing that this year.
Mm-hmm. I think they already had an option to put it on to the advisory, but they didn't really have it on with the actual advisory forecast cone, so you don't really get to see that. But until now, obviously, you can see how far the hurricane force winds or tropical storm force winds extend away from the center of the storm. So I think that's a pretty good update to show on the actual advisory track.
Irma's new eye that's being built reminds me very much of something that maybe you'd see in the West Pacific. And it doesn't look Category 5, doesn't shout Category 5 to me at all. It shouts minimal Category 4, but that's obviously not the case.
Mm. It was, and then obviously then you would come straight back to when it was 1.8. Not in that state, but it didn't really look category. It didn't even look Category 5. Didn't even look close.
And looking at the position updates at the moment, Devon, it still appears to be moving due west.
Irma's moving due west.
It would appear.
Okay.
Devon's just exasperated.
Recon is showing that the storm's moving like just a little bit north of due west.
Right. Okay. Well, interesting.
That's where I think it's heading as well, and it's heading towards Cuba right now with no real sign of turning away just yet, and I don't think we will get a sign for another day.
So it's a long wait.
Yep, an excruciating one at that.
Is it still a stage 7 on the CDPS?
You know, unless they upgrade it up to Cat 5 again, we'll just have to see. Right now, I don't see any reason to put it any higher than 150 miles an hour because the flight level winds would say 150 miles an hour. But we'll just see.
Yep, well, we're still waiting for that update. It's so odd how they do
Place your
one
bets,
up.
folks.
They rush one update out and then they spend so much time on the other two.
Yeah.
I've got
Place your bets, folks. Which one's going to come out first?
No betting.
Oh, yeah. Don't actually. Don't condone that.
But the latest visible, which I'd like to show, well, I don't think I can show at the moment, unfortunately. Maybe we could get it up here. That or the update's going to come out. One of the two is going to happen here.
Yeah, one of the two.
Okay, we got the imagery first. And actually, I've got to change a few settings again. I tell you what, being in this studio, if you ever try and bring the best stuff to the stream, it's so difficult. But thankfully we've got our little display that goes round like a merry-go-round, so new viewers can see anything that they've not yet seen. This is the latest visible imagery. That's what it looks like right now, and you can see the newer eye beginning to appear within that older one, you know. It's just... That's going to be a huge eye if it pulls that off.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, that's going to be a really large eye in comparison to its CDO. I was reading up and it said that its outer eye wall was about 50 nautical miles wide, and I'm like, this pulls off a 50 nautical mile wide eye.
That's something you'd see in the Westpac.
That's basically the entire hurricane force wind field.
Wow.
So, wow. That's just wow. And B, you know,
the update's out on Irma. I've got to interrupt you.
In proportion to
Devon,
the storm.
the update is out on Irma. It's kept it at 150 miles an hour, so you're vindicated somewhat there.
Good.
The storm surge warning has been extended from Jupiter Inlet northward to Sebastian Inlet. That sound... Oh no, that was the... They had a watch there, didn't they? And it's now been turned into a warning. And from Bonita Beach northward to Venice. Now they're under storm surge warnings. A storm surge watch has been issued as well from north of Sebastian Inlet to Ponce Inlet. And the hurricane watch has been extended northward along the east coast of Florida to the Flagler-Volusia County line and along the west coast of Florida to Anclote River. So hurricane watches have been extended as well. The storm is expected to maintain its intensity for the next 18 hours. No, the next 48 hours according to the National Hurricane Center. So, well, at least it's not a Category 5.
True.
But still, 150 miles an hour. If it was in the Western Pacific, it'd be called a super typhoon. I'm guessing it's not going to change on Jose's advisory either.
Yeah, I would highly doubt a change in Jose's advisory.
Just see if there's any new information on Irma's stuff. I mean, the pressure stayed the same, and just that in southwest Florida, from Captiva to Cape Sable, they're expecting 6 to 12 feet. Jupiter Inlet to Cape Sable, including the Florida Keys, 5 to 10 feet. Venice to Captiva, 3 to 6 feet. That's if it strikes a high tide. If I remember rightly, during Matthew we were looking at something like sort of 9 to 12 in these areas and further north, and generally less. Do you think the surge here is going to be bigger than with Matthew? I think it might.
Would make sense. Matthew was borderline Cat 3 coming up the East Coast, and this is a lot stronger than that and a very similar size. Matthew was a little larger, but yeah, the storm's a very similar size to Matthew, and I'm just staring at this satellite imagery. I'm like, is this seriously going to try to pull off a 50-mile wide eye? That's insane.
It's certainly an insane situation at the moment, and only 3 of us looking at it right now. Where is everyone?
Everyone, I figured a lot of people would be busy since it's Friday morning. I'm sure in the afternoon and evening hours you'll have more support.
Something like that. Well,
I know I have to leave in about 20 minutes.
We're thinking of, I don't know whether to end our coverage now or not, and to do recorded updates for the rest of today or until this evening. It's a long time to watch an IWAL replacement cycle after all.
Yeah, absolutely, but we're just waiting for it to come through on a visible and IR here just to see what this storm actually does. To me, it looks like that southeastern side is just terrible.
Breaking news, the Tropical Storm Watch has been issued for St. Thomas and St. John. The government of Antigua has issued a Tropical Storm Watch for the British Virgin Islands, and a Tropical Storm Warning has been issued for St. Martin and St. Bart's. The government of St. Martin has issued a Tropical Storm Warning for St. Martin, the Dutch side. So, no hurricane warnings yet, but tropical storm warnings are out for Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, St. Martin, St. Bart's and St. Martin as well, for Hurricane Jose, which remains at 150 miles an hour at the update, and National Hurricane Center thinks it won't intensify anymore.
Just like to say that we do have the recon getting into the eye pretty much right now. Well, not right now, but a little while ago. We're just getting the data now, and it looks like that the plane found not Cat 5 winds. We'll just say that they're pretty terrible. But yeah, it looks like that 150 will be maintained for now.
Yes.
Looking at Jose, they said that he intensify any.
We missed that.
The NHC said that Jose wouldn't intensify anymore.
Yeah.
Advisory, and look what happened.
Well, indeed. We'll be back shortly. We won't be here for long. We're probably gonna get off after this or something. I don't know. We're just around. We're existing.
Somewhere.
Oh, that's the volume mixer. Everything's all messed up here, you know. Stay tuned, and well, probably not because we're about to finish up here, but we'll have more updates to follow. You can follow Force 13's outlets, the website force13.co.uk, at your service at any time. You can also find us on YouTube, the channel, search Force 13, all in text, and subscribe if you haven't already. You can also find us on Facebook at Force 13, and it's at Force 13 on Twitter, that's the handle to contact us there. You can also add Fool13 on Skype, that's FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord for tropical weather chat. You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Indeed. So just before we go, which we were going to go, or I was, it's just me here at the moment, just before we wrap this up, I just wanted to read out the latest information with the warnings one more time and the latest wind speed probabilities. So, again, a storm surge warning for the Sebastian Inlet southward around the Florida Peninsula to Venice and the Florida Keys. A storm surge watch for north of Sebastian Inlet to Ponce Inlet, and the hurricane warning for Jupiter Inlet southward around the Florida Panhandle to Bonita Beach, the Florida Keys, Lake Okeechobee, Florida Bay, the southeastern Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos Islands, the rest of the Bahamas, the Cuban provinces of Camagüey, Ciega de Avila, Sagui Spiritus, and Villa Clara. And a hurricane watch for north of Jupiter Inlet to the Flag of Lucia County line, north of Bonita Beach to Anclote River, the Cuban provinces of Guantanamo, Holguin, Las Tunas, and Matanzas. A tropical storm warning for the Cuban provinces of Guantanamo, Holguin, and Las Tunas. I want to read out the wind probabilities right now for Irma, because they have changed just now as compared to what you see on the screen. So these are the new numbers just now. Camagüey, Cuba, chance of hurricane conditions 7%, Cienfuegos 5%, Havana 2%, Great Exuma 2%, Andros 5, Grand Bahama 6, Pensacola 2, Panama City 5, Apalachicola 10, St. Mark's 15, Tallahassee 12, Cedar Key 26, Tampa 35, Venice 36, Fort Myers 50, Naples 54, Key West 45, Marathon 73, Homestead 57, Miami 49, Fort Lauderdale 38, West Palm Beach 32, Fort Pierce 30, Cocoa Beach 30, Orlando 35, Daytona Beach 27, Gainesville 17, Jacksonville 16, Waycross, Georgia 6, Kings Bay 15, Savannah 9, Augusta 2, Charleston 4, Georgetown 2, Myrtle Beach 1. I think some of those chances for the Carolinas have actually increased, and for Georgia, so I'll be very intrigued to see the new cone, which I think is just out. I don't know if we could reload this just briefly to show you what the warnings are. There's the latest. Nope, that's not the latest warning cone. Hopefully we'll have the new warning cone for you at some point. But the new warning cone suggests that the hurricane in 2 days' time will be right on top of the lower and central Keys, and a landfall in western Florida, sort of like well, over the Everglades, but it could still move over. So maybe the Naples area is a major, and then up the coast, and then inland. So crazy. But I have to say, right now, the cone has more of the sea off the eastern coast, of the western coast and east. Hard to explain when it's not yet updated on our display here. There's the updated cone. You can see what I mean here. The eastern extremity of that cone now barely has the storm going out to sea there, and it's more towards the west, so it's another westward shift. Again, possible landfall in Cuba, just to keep that on the screen there. It does predict that it will be 150 miles an hour for the first 3 dots, and then down to 145 or something just before that landfall, and then rapid weakening inland, of course. So that's the latest there. And here's the latest one for Jose. Bermuda needs to watch this, because it could affect Bermuda. And again, you're looking at those islands which are really in a bad way right now. And Katia's track map there showing 100-mile-an-hour winds and potentially till landfall. That's really it from here for now. We'll be back streaming again later this evening. We'll have plenty of updates besides. You can find us on our social mediums. Search Force13 all in text on Facebook and Twitter. Add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord. I don't know when we will return with streaming, but we will have updates in between on all of the platforms. But that's it from us for now. We'll be back this evening at the latest with some more live coverage. Stay tuned, and let's hope for some more weakening from this apocalyptic storm, you might want to call it. And don't get carried away with all of those media agencies. We've got some sort of vendetta against them these days, because they've just said the most ridiculous things during the life of Irma, and lots of inaccurate things as well. If anything, we will remain factual on our streams. And just a quick question at the end: is this bad for Broward County? Possibly not. I would say about half chance of hurricane conditions there. I don't have the wind shear map to hand, but as far as wind shear is concerned, it is generally low for Irma. Well, until our next stream, that's all for now, and stay safe out there. And a storm surge could be very significant for the Florida area. The Keys could have 12 feet if it strikes a high tide. Have a good day this Friday, and we'll be back again soon. Goodbye.